This is the Genshin comic anthology, published by Dengeki Comics under their EX label. Like other manga of its type, it contains multiple different short stories, each created by a different artist. Although this is officially licensed, it is not like MiHoYo Comics' Genshin Impact run, since none of these stories should be considered canon and are just for fun. I bought this copy from amazon.co.jp for about $25, including shipping to the US, since it doesn't seem like there are any plans to release an official English translation. I don't know enough Japanese to be able to perfectly translate every sentence, but I was able to get a good enough idea of what each story was about. Though I'm putting it out there that I am not fluent, so anything I say in this video could very well be a misinterpretation. But with that said, here are overviews for the first 6 stories out of the 13 in the book. First is Genshin's Hellish Cooking Showdown by Sakurai Energy. In this cook-off, MC Xiangling first shows off the ingredients, and Paimon is a bit upset at her strange seating. Our judges are Zhongli and Child, and our contestants are Barbara, Fischl, and Bennett. Barbara and Fischl are immediately concerned with Bennett's unlucky presence. Mona appears, telling them to hurry up so that she can eat, and Paimon remarks that Mona wasn't even invited to begin with. Barbara immediately gets to work, and Child notes that she has made this dish tens of thousands of times in a single day, so that's why her eyes look so dead. Fischl tries to break an egg and fails miserably, but it seems like Oz prepared some pancakes all by himself. Paimon calls it cheating, and Fischl just responds with an Bennett is also working hard and is surprisingly doing quite well. Zhongli compliments his skills while Paimon and Barbara tell him to stop, hoping that he doesn't jinx the inevitable. Out of nowhere, a rock is thrown at Bennett's dish, destroying it. Everyone smiles, thankful that the bad luck didn't affect them. As time ticks down, we get a progress update stating that Barbara has made 1,160 sweet madams, Fischl has made 213 tea break pancakes, and Bennett has finished nothing. As a last resort, he uses some power to try and make Adeptus' temptation in the last few seconds before one of Klee's bombs bounces in. Bennett questions his luck, Fischl finally cleanly cracks an egg, and Barbara makes her 2000th dish before the whole place is blown up. Child is like, I am not paying for this, and Mona starts eating the scraps off the floor. Paimon is happy that she wasn't eaten, Klee gets chased by Jean, Oz is worried about Fischl, and all Xiangling says is we'll see you next week. Second, we got Henshin Impact by Mikage Baku. In the title, the Gen kanji for original is replaced with the Hen kanji, which is the first half of Hensei, meaning team composition. It begins with Paimon and Lumine reminiscing about the strong enemies which they have fought up to now and thinking about the challenges to come. Lumine remarks that team composition is important, but Paimon wonders if she is actually being thoughtful about it, considering that she has Chi-Chi, Diona, and Klee active. Lumine justifies her team by talking about the shattering ice elemental resonance in the melt reaction, but Paimon is more concerned about if Lumine will be suspected of kidnapping these children. Paimon hopes Lumine isn't grouping her in with these little girls, but Lumine assures Paimon that she is her first and best friend, though this doesn't seem to put Paimon at ease. When Lumine asks why Paimon is upset, Paimon states that she isn't upset and is more concerned. So to Paimon's surprise, Lumine changes her team to be Diluc, Kaya, and Zhongli. Paimon gets freaked out, and Lumine is just like, yep, we got the enduring rock resonance and a melt setup. Paimon questions if melt is the only reaction Lumine can remember. Paimon says the team comps are okay, but are just a bit weird, and Lumine tells Paimon that she complains too much. Then she suggests a team of Beidou, Ningguang, and Lisa to activate the Captivating Scent Resonance, which does extra damage to male treasure hoarders. Paimon tells her that she shouldn't straight up lie like that. But Paimon finally concedes, telling Lumine that she can do whatever she wants in order to make her journey more fun. Lumine simply states that she finds fun in messing around with Paimon. Our third story is titled Mona's Gourmet Liyue Journey, made by Tsumumi. It begins with Mona, Paimon, and Lumine sitting at a table full of delicious food. Mona is thinking to herself, yes, this is for work. Rewind a few days, and in Mondstadt we see Mona approaching Lumine and Paimon, inviting them to eat together in Liyue. She explains that it's so she can write a magazine article on Liyue's gourmet cuisine. Lumine and Paimon are skeptical, and assume that Mona is only asking them to go so that they can pay for the meal. However, Mona insists that she will pay, and she wants to bring them along for their expertise. So they later arrive at the restaurant with the reservation made by Child, and Mona sees that the restaurant is a bit more expensive looking than she had imagined. When they sit down, Mona has some internal struggles concerning spending, so she just orders white rice, before Paimon orders everything on the menu from here to there. Shocked by how good the food looks, Mona tries to hold herself back before she eventually begins to dig in herself. After the meal, Mona asks for the bill and upon seeing it, asks the waitress if there are any available coupons to use. The waitress is like, of course not, and Mona tries to play it off as a joke, but when Mona goes to hand over her bag of Mora, her hand just won't let go. Eventually she does pay and writes about the whole experience in her article. Readers found it funny, and so astrologist Mona Magistus gained some popularity as a writer. Story number 4 is Knights of Favonius-Style Cliff Climbing Training by Arito Arayuru. Jean and Lisa discuss how they are free until their task later that night, when suddenly Lumine and Paimon fall down from the ceiling. Fast forward and the 4 of them are faced with a giant cliff. Jean and Lisa decide to pass the time by cliff climbing with Lumine, who immediately gets to it. Lisa has been pretty busy lately, so she's not really in shape, and Jean tells her it's fine to just watch, though it seems like Lisa is plotting something. Lumine finishes climbing just seconds later to much surprise. Jean starts to feel some competitive spirit, and Paimon remarks that it was never a competition to begin with. Jean begins climbing and thinks to herself that it is more difficult than she thought, as Lumine cheers her on and suggests she yell for more power. Lisa also shouts out, essentially telling Jean that shouting out the way she does will give her more strength. You can probably figure out what that means. Jean genuinely considers it, but it is too embarrassing for her. So she makes it up the cliff, but ended up being just a bit slower than Lumine. Although Lisa seems a bit disappointed, they both appreciate the view from the top of the cliff. Meanwhile, Amber is wondering why everyone is so late. 5th, we have World Quest Poster Girl of the Tavern by Hirose Madoka. Lumine and Paimon visit Catherine in Mondstadt, who tells them about a job opportunity. The Dawn Winery is releasing a new wine, so they need people to help run the celebration party. Paimon is like, nah, no way. But Lumine goes ahead and accepts the request. She thinks to herself that she will be able to wear a cute outfit, but it turns out it's not exactly what she was expecting. Meanwhile, Paimon is a bit upset at her mascot-like costume. Lumine assures Paimon that she looks cute before making a face like she is about to eat her. It seems like Kaya is the mastermind behind these outfits. Meanwhile, Diluc is unimpressed. Paimon goes off on Kaya, but after he mentions how much they might get paid for this job, Paimon is ready to work. When the event begins, everything goes quite smoothly at the Angel's Share. Kaya suggests Lumine and Paimon get hired for real, but Diluc says, nah, just today is enough. Paimon is starting to get fed up again, when suddenly a slime cockroach starts running around. Paimon sees this as her time to finally shine, before the slime makes a beeline straight for her. Lumine figures out that it's because of the costume, so Paimon throws it, allowing Lumine to catch the slime. They get compensated for their excellent inspiring teamwork. Sometime later, Catherine says that there are a lot of people wanting to hire bunny girl extermination services. Lumine accepts, but Paimon makes it clear that she wants no part of it. For our 6th and final story, we have Klee and her new bomb model by Kusaka Shi. First, we see Jean reading a paper reporting that there's been an explosion at Starfell Lake. She wonders if it was Klee, but then concludes that it wasn't since she has been in solitary confinement since the day before. Just then, Klee bursts out of her room, shouting that her new bomb is a failure. Fast forward a bit and Klee is to help Sarah at the Good Hunter restaurant since the solitary confinement room needs to be repaired. Klee immediately is about to blow up the stove before Sarah stops her and shows her the normal way to ignite it. A family sits to place their order and Sarah entrusts the job to Klee. She does the job and even recommends her favorite dish when the little girl of the family becomes interested in Klee's stuffed toy, Dodoko. Klee argues that Dodoko is not a toy and is just Dodoko, but the other girl just asks her mom where she can get one for herself. Klee then decides to instead give the girl a different toy, being Klee's new model of bomb. But then she explains that it doesn't actually explode, so it is perfectly safe. Well, except for the part where if you pull the leaves off of it, then it'll start spewing smoke. Klee finishes her fun day of work, and Sarah thanks her for her help. Jean comes to pick her up, and Klee is happy to report that she wasn't troublesome. But when Sarah brings up the stove incident, Klee is quick to explain herself. Suddenly, the father from before arrives in a panic, saying that he is looking for his daughter. The daughter got lost somewhere in the forest, so Klee tells Jean that they need to go look for her. The mom, dad, Klee, and Jean continue to search, but to no avail. The mom starts to break down when suddenly Klee sees smoke from the bomb she gave the little girl. They then find her, and the little girl is worried about Klee, but Jean understands that Klee's antics actually saved the day this time. Feeling triumphant, Klee explains to the amazed little girl that she has even cooler bombs, like ones that can be exploded remotely while Klee is in solitary confinement. Jean realizes that Klee was the culprit behind Starfell Lake and prepares to use even stricter methods to discipline her. So that's all for this video, since translating can be quite difficult and getting this far was tough enough. But I definitely will be talking about the last 7 chapters soon, assuming this video isn't on MiHoYo's hit list. So make sure you stay tuned for those, and as always, thank you for watching.